Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our show, Lifestyle with Dr. Mobi. I'm Dr. Mobi. Today we have an excellent guest, Sandy, and she's going to talk about a couple of issues, especially how people think about each other and how that can influence somebody's behavior. So let's welcome Sandy. Sandy, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So tell us about yourself.
Um, I I help compassionate women overcome stress and anxiety and take back control of their lives using empowering mindfulness, radical acceptance, and conquering limiting beliefs so that they can step into the most courageous and happiest version of themselves.
Mhm. Okay, great. Well, that's a wonderful, that's really admirable. So tell me what put you in this field, or how did you start all this?
Um, well, these are issues that I dealt with for the majority of my life. I dealt with a lot of social anxiety, imposter syndrome. I didn't realize that I had anxiety for most of my life because nobody had ever really given it a label. I just kind of thought that this is the way life is. This is how I'm experiencing life.
Mhm.
But it held me back for years. It gave me so much fear and apprehension to live my life authentically, to go after the things that I wanted to go after, prevented me from even just getting a good night's sleep. So my journey through that and years of training with training as a coach and in mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy, and as a yoga teacher, and even training in becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner, I've pulled together these years of study in different facets to help other women experience the same transformation that I did.
Okay, wonderful. So, I'm sure you have seen a lot of folks by now. So, tell me what is the most kind of simplest problem you always see, or you can summarize some of the highlights which you see in these women.
Yeah, I'd say the most common thing that I see is women come to me when they are fed up with feeling less than or not good enough, not likable or lovable enough to other people, or they're always worried about what other people think about them. And it shows up in social anxiety, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, self-bullying. They're living in other people's heads, and because of that, they're not enjoying being in their own.
And is it common for both sexes, or is it mostly one more dominant than the other?
I think it's an equal opportunity affliction
Oh,
that
I
bothers me. But I do find that women are a little bit more open, more lately, more open to identify this is what's going on and seeking some remedies for the problem.
Okay, and that's an interesting, thought because a lot of guests come to my show too, and they say the same thing that these are still a big social stigma. Mental illness and stress, and is kind of first admitting that it's a problem, and second is seeking help. So those two are biggest, although it has really improved, of course, over the year with the education
Mhm.
and so forth, support group, but still it's a problem, with a lot of both sexes,
Mhm.
especially men would not actually admit at all. So so women on the other hand will somehow get a little more help than men. And how important is the family support here?
The family support, I think everybody has a different dynamic. Some people, even just looking at the women that I work with, there's just a wide range of uh, some women, they're single, they travel, they don't have very close family ties, all the way to women who have family as one of their top core values, something that they need to um, consider as they think about what matters to them most, and they have big families. So it's it's interesting, those women that have families, and children. One of their driving motivators is they want to set a great example for their children. They don't want their children, their sons and daughters, to grow up with the same anxiety that they have. Um, so I think that I work with people from the inside, and how it is that they are relating to their thoughts and to their emotions, and whether or not they have that family support system or not.
Mm. So it's very important in your assessment that some kind of support, family is of course the best. But what about loneliness? We are seeing also a lot of, with industrialization and so forth, and also with, current situation, COVID. There's loneliness, and then there's a less social interaction, which was kind of hallmark before, but now it's, where do you see this is leading to more?
Um, I think that's a really interesting question, especially relating to this particular topic and the people that I work with, especially because um, funny enough, the isolation has almost been a reprieve for some of these women who are dealing with these social anxieties, because they don't need to be physically around these triggers that cause these negative thought patterns, which is being around people physically.
Mhm.
So I think there's both ends of the spectrum. So I think it gives them a reprieve, but it also does not allow them to continue to do the work, to step into that more empowered version of themselves that they're trying to get to, because they're almost stepping away from the problem and the triggers that cause this. So I've actually had a few clients that wanted to kind of, can we pause and come back to this when I'm back in the office and dealing with these issues?
Mhm.
Um, but I have also had some other clients where they do worry so much about what other people think, um, but the problem is they also want to grow their social circles. And so this limiting belief is holding them back from doing that, and then COVID is also helping, hurting
So,
it, holding them back from doing this as well. So I see it on both sides.
so you see it. And what about, recently we had few cases, I mean, it was more celebrity type, that they had a lot of social, you know, kind of followers and so forth, but they committed suicide, and despite that. So, how important is this with the social, technology and all those? But still, mental health is a problem. So, is it getting worse with that, or is it getting helping in the situation?
Again, I think that's another one where I personally kind of see both sides of it. I think seeking mental health help is uh, starting to lose its stigma,
Hmm.
and it's becoming a little bit more mainstream to be able to talk about and open up these things that in the past would have been seen as vulnerability was seen as a weakness,
Hmm.
and now it's starting to be seen for what it really is, which is it takes a lot of strength to say, hey, I'm going through a hard time here, can somebody help me with this, as opposed to being too afraid to speak up and say that, um, for fear of other people thinking that they're weak. So there's there's this slight cultural shift happening now with being able to open up and seek treatment and seek help.
Hmm.
But you're right, we're in a very weird time right now with COVID and with isolation, that um, obviously not everybody is at that place where they're able to open up, and seek that help. And so adding isolation on top of it, it's been very detrimental for a certain subset of our communities.
Yeah. Also, I think I read somewhere that they had, certain, maybe certain age groups. They were looking more for certain likes or comments on their, the social status, and somehow if they're not getting, so that was creating anxiety. So let's say if somebody is on, certain social media, and if they're not getting those likes or feedback from their, you know, group, that was causing a problem.
Causing the problem, yeah, that's the way we kind of look like we look at our situations like that, like nobody liked my photo, so that
Yeah.
means there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with my friends. And it's this mindset that we're stuck in, and it really stems from our own limiting beliefs about ourselves. Is this for a lot of people, this fear of not being good enough, or not fitting in, not being likable. And so because we hold these limiting beliefs about ourselves, we have, I almost call them like our negativity goggles on, like that's all that we can see. So when something doesn't go our way, like us, we're not getting the likes that we want, and
Uh-huh.
we assign meaning to that based on the limiting belief. That meaning is nobody likes me, nobody likes my photos, I don't look good enough. And so yeah, what we're talking about today is a path to getting to that place of challenging those limiting beliefs, uh, noticing the things that are coming up within ourselves that are causing us to ruminate and to jump to these conclusions, and how do we actually step out from that and change that mindset.
Hmm. Okay. So you are also seeing that with social media, um, is making that problem more prominent. That that demand for that likeness, or that anxiety caused by those social feeds.
My personal point of view is social media doesn't cause it. I think it's the lack of emotional intelligence education for children starting from a young age, in learning how to understand our thoughts and our feelings, and understand how to relate to ourselves and to the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of missing here. And because that's missing, the way social media works, it does exacerbate the issue. I don't think it's the cause of the issue, and that's just my opinion. I think there's plenty of people who use social media in an emotionally responsible way, and then there's those who don't. And I think that the disparity is learning the emotional intelligence tools to be able to deal with disappointment. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what you're saying is that they are more vulnerable traits, or they have their basically personality, or those problems before, and then in this environment of social feed and so forth, they're getting worse. Can get worse, but it can happen even they were in different setting too. That would still be a problem.
Yeah, I think these are the same problems that people have offline as well. But
Mm-hmm.
online, there's so much more. There's so many more people. There's so much more connection, and it happens at a faster pace that like I said, it exacerbates these issues. I think the solution is putting more emphasis at an early age of um, uh, learning about emotional health, and being able to teach people empowerment, and reframing to all these different tools in their toolbox for when life inevitably throws difficult situations our way.
Mm-hmm. And so tell us some of the guidelines, or some of the help which anyone can self-help first about these issues, how to tackle them.
Absolutely. I'll give you an overview of this step-by-step process that I work with my clients to help get them out of this out of this issue. So the first one, again, these are all things that you can do with self-help, is a very essential tool, which is mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
I know we hear it as a buzzword, but I kind of want to illustrate how it's used in this context to just kind of demystify it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't change unless you know where you are starting from and when you're there. So mindfulness is the ultimate empowerment tool, and it's a crucial first step to taking back control over your thoughts and your emotions and your actions. So what it is paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. So it's recognizing what's really going on right now in your mind and in your body. So, like, for example, let's say whenever you go to the gym or to yoga, that you spend the whole time worrying about what other people think you look like, and that's the habit that you want to change.
Mhm.
You can't break this habit until you catch yourself doing it. So, what usually ends up happening is we run with these worries, we get caught up in the stories, and before we know it, we spent the whole hour stuck in worry. We carry it into the locker room and then our drive home, and we're kind of stuck on a broken record to this worry, and we're dancing to that beat. But mindfulness is noticing the feeling. Usually we feel it first in our bodies, and where does this feeling of worry show up physically? Like, is it a knot in your stomach? Is it a tightness in your chest? And noticing what thoughts we're having, like what stories we're telling ourselves. It mindfulness is noticing, oh, look, I'm doing that thing again where I'm thinking about what other people are looking at me and they think that I'm fat. It's just noticing, oh, that's what's happening inside my head. And then from there, labeling what you're feeling. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling self-judgment. Do you see how, like, taking a step back to be objective and curious about what's happening inside our own heads, it's kind of like taking the needle off of that broken record. Like, it stops us from mindlessly running with this worry, and it gives you pause to examine it and the space to choose how you want to respond next.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That, first is the kind of identify the problem, like you said, the broken record, the needle, and then we will talk about how to manage, right?
Yeah.
So first thing is to see that, separate that from 10 other that were bothering them. So see, okay, this. So if they have, so some after that, what do you suggest then? Seeking, of course, of counselor like yourself or somebody, and that's also very important because a lot of people can't handle or they don't understand how their body thought process, which is even more difficult than physical process, works. So what other steps they can do? So anything they you think that will help them to help
Yeah.
this situation?
Absolutely. So from the point of noticing, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, let's pause and just notice this is what's happening. From there, you're going to step into a, a moment of acceptance and self compassion. So normally when we feel these uncomfortable feelings, we want to run from them, we want to ignore them or numb them with, wine or a Netflix binge or smoking pot or whatever it is you might want to do to kind of numb that uncomfortable feeling. When we
Mhm.
don't like how it feels, we run from it, which means we don't fully process it. And emotions are energy in motion. So ignoring it doesn't make it go away.
Mhm.
Allowing it to exist and accepting that this is an emotion I'm experiencing right now is a step towards letting it run its course. So what that would look like is saying hello to it. So in the last step, we gave it a name. Let's say it was anxiety is the feeling that's coming up when I think people are judging me when they look at me at the gym. It would
Mhm.
look like saying, oh, hello, anxiety. Hello, self judgment. Welcome to the party. I see you there. So if I'm experiencing an emotion that keeps coming up, then I know better. It means, this is a moment of just allowing it to be there. One of the tools that I use that actually works really well for me is when I notice, okay, this is for me, if it's like anger or irritation, like if I jump to getting irritated really easily, I'll look at it and say, oh, hello, irritation, don't you look adorable this evening? I almost belittle it a little bit, and to me it kind of minimizes the feeling a little bit, and it's enough to give me the space to step back and look at this from another angle.
And that's true, that you kind of take head on and then just handle it, you just don't feel intimidated from it, that you get that uh, under control.
Mhm.
So tell me also how it can affect different processes. One is, during day they could be less interactive, or they would be down, and night they could have problem with sleep and not sleeping well, physical manifestations of all this.
Uh, are you asking strategies to deal with the anxiety when it comes up
Yeah.
physically when they're not around other people?
And no, I'm saying, like, let's say if somebody gets this, something bothering them, so how it can impact physically during day and night, their different processes. They could be, of course, moody, and then uh, or eating less or eating more. Can that influence their behavior during day and night? Would they be sleeping less or more?
Mhm. So tools for when you're noticing how they're coping with
Yeah, yeah.
their physical reaction. Yeah, I I always start with that mindfulness stuff.
Mhm.
Is for example, actually somebody was just messaging me earlier today asking me, what do I do when I can't sleep at night because the
Yeah,
thoughts keep running in my head.
yeah.
And I just recently taught a master class on using mindfulness as an empowerment tool, and so I referred him to that in my group. So what we covered there was learning how to use, it's basically meditation in action,
Hmm.
which is, let's say in this example of I can't sleep because my brain is too
Yeah.
busy. I
Hmm.
know I spent 30 plus years dealing with that myself, so I know it very well. So how that looks is using even just the two tools that we covered so far. I mean, I have some more if we have time, but even just looking
Sure.
at those two,
Mhm.
that mindful recognition of, okay, I'm planning for tomorrow. That's what's happening. It's noticing what's happening and it's putting a label on it. Let's label it planning. Okay, I'm going I'm thinking, I'm planning. All right, and then coming back
Mhm.
to your breath or coming back to the sensation of your body. So that can be a breathing exercise, it could be a mindful body scan, it could be listening to the sound of the white noise machine. It's any way that you can use any of your five senses. You're
Mhm.
going to be back in the present moment. And then in a matter of seconds or minutes, your mind is going to wander again. It's going to continue planning or it's going to start worrying about something. So mindfulness is recognizing, okay, I'm worrying about that,
Mhm.
and taking a moment of that acceptance of, all right, this is a worry that I'm having. It's okay to experience this worry, and without resisting it, just allowing it to be there, allowing it to flow, because that resistance creates more pain.
Mhm.
If we know the Buddhist story of the second arrow, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So getting hit by an arrow hurts, but thinking, oh, I can't believe I got hit by an arrow. This hurts so much. I don't want this to have happened. I wish this didn't happen. That's like getting hit with a second arrow.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
avoidable pain. So recognizing that, okay, this worry isn't serving me right now. It's not benefiting me in any way. That taking the resistance out makes it flow easier. If you've ever stuck your fingers in a Chinese finger trap, when you try to pull your fingers out, you get stuck more. But leaning into it and allowing gives you the space to be able to let go. So that mindfulness is noticing that's happening, giving it a moment of acceptance, and then coming back to the breath, coming back to the body. And you do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I think that is the simplest explanation and the best, probably, to get where you are and get out of that trap. Okay, so with the time running out, so let's summarize any final thoughts you have for our audience.
Yeah, so I think when it comes down to this worry over what other people think about us, there's two main issues happening here. There's these core beliefs that we talked about a little bit, and it sounds like we don't have much time to go into it more, but challenging those core beliefs, which is what is it that I'm believing about myself that is driving me to think that other people are judging me? Because when we're worried about what other people think of us, what that really is us projecting our own beliefs about ourselves into the minds of other people and assuming they believe those same things about us. So challenging those core beliefs, recognizing all of the ways that they aren't true, or all of the ways that they aren't completely true, and tapping into those. Because the second most important thing in this issue is habit. This has become a habit, this negative thinking habit, the jumping to conclusion habit. And mindfulness is really the key to breaking those habits, noticing when we're doing them and coming back and letting it go. Noticing we're doing it again, coming back and letting it go. It's like going to the gym for your brain. It's this muscle that we can all build. So working on those, really examining those limiting beliefs that are holding us back and making us feel crappy, and questioning how all the ways that they aren't true, and practicing allowing and coming back to the present moment to cultivate this new, better habit.
Okay. Thank you. It was pleasure talking to you. I'm sorry we ran into time issue, but we'll definitely have you back for extra session on that. Thank you, giving us great tip, and so please give us feedback. And thank you, Sandra, for coming today.
Thank you for having me. My Facebook group, Graceful Resilience, we're talking about this all this week. We've got a masterclass coming up on this topic, so find us there on Facebook. If anybody's looking for that one-on-one support to help walk you through these steps and more, you can learn more about my one-on-one coaching program at stressandanxietycoach.com.
Okay, great. Thank you. You take care. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.